that our patients will be rewarded with an exciting story about Russian remote sensing systems, which will be delivered by Valery Zaichka. Valery, we are ready to for you. Hello, can you hear me? Yep. I welcome all the participants of the conference from Moscow. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased to attend your conference this way. I represent the Federal Space Agency.
Похоже, что это сложнее, чем установить связь с МКС.
It looks that this is much more difficult
Но, тем не менее, хотел бы принести извинения за плохую
than
связь. Это,
connecting
наверное,
to the
вина и Роскосмоса,
space
и
station.
сибирской стороны. Во-первых, мне бы хотелось
First of
лично
all,
присутствовать на этой
I
конференции,
wish I could
но, к
personally
сожалению,
participate
в
in the
условиях
conference,
организации
but
ракетно-космической
unfortunately,
промышленности и ракетно-космической отрасли
as the
приходится
rocket,
находиться в
military rocket system is going through a reform,
Я бы
I
хотел
have to be
от
present here.
руководства Федерального
On
космического
behalf of the
агентства
Russian Space
поприветствовать
Agency,
всех участников
I would like to
конференции,
welcome all participants of the
пожелать
conference and wish
прекрасной
you
работы,
wonderful work,
удачных переговоров, хорошего ведения
successful negotiations,
переговорного процесса и обсуждения злободневных тем,
constructive
способов,
negotiations,
результатов космической
and
деятельности, квалификация
fruitful discussions
развития не только
on
Мексики,
most
но и
topical
всех стран Латинской
issues
Америки.
relating not only to Mexico but all the
Мне бы
countries of
хотелось
Latin America.
отметить, что в
I'd like
Российской Федерации
to note
космической
that
деятельностью
in
занимается
Russia,
Роскосмос.
it's
Роскосмос–
Roscosmos
это государственная
that
корпорация,
handles
которая выполняет
space-related
все федеральные
activities.
органы исполнительной власти по космической деятельности. И одним из направлений является дистанционное
One
мониторинг
of the
Земли.
activities is remote sensing of the Earth.
Я бы хотел рассказать о
I
некоторых
would like
пилотах дистанционного
to
слежения.
tell you a little bit about Earth
Сказать,
remote
что
sensing
Федеральное космическое
and say the
агентство
Federal Space Agency
активно
is
внедряет
actively implementing
космические системы
a
ГЗС
remote sensing
в
space system.
жизнь. Сегодня у нас на орбите
Today,
находится 7
there
космических
are
аппаратов,
7 satellites
запущенных на
in
данный
orbit,
этап
remote sensing
количество
ones.
по состоянию на 2015
Here you can see their status as of
самые главные
2015.
космические аппараты
The main
это
satellites
космические аппараты серии Везос.
are a
Это имеет
resource
разрешающую способность
with a
больше
resolution
1 метра.
better than 1 meter.
Таких аппаратов у нас на орбите 2.
We have 2 such
И в этом
satellites in
году, в
orbit.
начале следующего, мы запустим третий аппарат «Ресурс».
Early next year, we are planning to launch the
Данный
third
слайд иллюстрирует
resource satellite.
вкратце программу
This
Российской
slide
Федерации
shows a
по
schedule
формированию
of operations
вертикальной группировки
in
спецГЗС.
terms of building our remote sensing constellation
Хотел бы
of satellites.
показать состав
I want to show you
оборудования
the
которые могут быть использованы
makeup of
для решения
equipment that
различных
can be used to address
социально-экономических задач.
various
И как
social and
таковая
economic tasks and mapping
контроль режиме использования,
land
мониторинга природных и
management,
чрезвычайных ситуаций.
forecasting and
Весь
monitoring
спектр
natural
специфических
disasters.
аппаратуры установлен на всех
So
космических
this is
аппаратах, находящихся в эксплуатации.
equipment mounted on all satellites in
Коротко
operation.
о цифрах, которые есть на орбите.
So this is a summary, a descriptive summary concerning resource decay. This is a research satellite. It was superseded by resource P. As you can see, resolution is zero point 0.8 to 1 meter. This is a super high resolution equipment with 3-meter pan chromatic mode with a swath of 40 kilometers. So it also uses the wide capture sensor using up to 100 bands.
Хорошо.
Now, I already told you about how many such spacecraft we have. Canopus satellite has a resolution of about 2 meters. No, we have only one such vehicle at the moment. And it has an infrared band for observation functions. We supply or export them to the Latin American countries, and we're prepared to discuss how possible deals and transactions with them. Besides, we have a development program for hydrometeorology functionalities. That would be Meteor M satellite and geostationary satellites that submit information every 30 minutes through when over a visible part of the Earth, in order to ensure reception and processing of data from Russian satellites, the Russian Federation, which spans from east to west in about 6,000 kilometers. We have a specialized system in place for reception and processing and storing and dissemination of remote sensing data. The existing network can be seen on this slide. Now we're building 3 more reception stations in the Russian Federation, in Burnovka, Dudinka, and another. I am on the area of an operator of Roscosmos, and this operator will manage or run the satellites, do the flight plans, accommodates reception, processing, and dissemination of remote sensing data, which is acquired not only from the Russian satellites that I mentioned, but also from foreign satellites. On this slide, you can see technical capacities of the operator, a registration and reception facilities, and others. The interaction scheme for satellites can be seen on the next slide. And I'd like to say a few words about the target use of this satellite data acquired from our spacecraft. First of all, for Latin American countries, it would be interesting to know that we're members of Disaster Relief Agency, and along with other members of this agency, we provide access to our remote sensing data free of charge upon the initiative of the Ministry of Emergency Management of the countries of the whole world, upon their request, of course. Besides, we ourselves also receive information from other satellites. from members of the Charter. Our data can be used both for agricultural purposes and for monitoring of urban development, including development of residential areas, greening projects in urban areas, monitoring of agriculture, natural resources. At the same time, I'd like to mention that an important role here is played by the hyperspectral photography imaging that I mentioned, and the equipment mounted on resource P can accommodate that. It helps us form DVI indices. Besides, the materials of space imagery are used for monitoring of floods and for other purposes, and assignments to be given to Roscosmos and other ministries who use remote sensing data. I hope that in the course of discussion, my colleagues from our chief development agency responsible for resource P will report on the capacities of this satellite and its technical specs. Unfortunately, once again, I would like to apologize for that I couldn't uh, attend your conference in person and welcome you on behalf of the Federal Space Agency of Russia. Again, in conclusion, I would like to wish you success in such a renowned conference. It gives us pleasure to know that the Russian company Rakurs is promoting the interests of Russia and the interests of Roscosmos, among other countries also in Latin America. And we will wholeheartedly welcome these endeavors, and stand ready to cooperate not only in the field of remote sensing, but also in all other fields of aerospatial activity. Thank you for your attention. I'm prepared to take questions from the floor. Dear colleagues, will there be questions? Valery Alexandrovich, now we keep hearing also from our Latin American partners about how and when they will be able to buy Russian Earth remote sensing data, because we're talking about huge volumes of data already. You can buy this data already because the operators of Earth remote sensing perform the full complex of services, not only in reception and processing data, but also on their dissemination, including commercial dissemination. That is why the only thing you have to do is approach the operator. You will learn about the conditions, how to get this data. You can get them both from the archive and in real time also from other stations, also from the Latin American countries. Thank you very much. We're going to send potential customers to you then. Yes. Operator of space facilities of Earth remote sensing. Okay, thank you very much. Dear colleagues, are there any more questions? None so far. Unfortunately, the internet connection here is not good enough to have a real discussion on this. So that would be the end of our online connection. Thank you, Mr. Yermakov. I would like to use this opportunity and invite all the people in that room to visit Russia and to see our center and its capacities and the capacities of the Russian Federation on aerospace monitoring and Earth remote sensing.
Спасибо большое.
Thank
До
you.
свидания. Удачи.
Goodbye. До свидания.